There is something uniquely unsettling about staying in a stranger's home, even when it's through a reputable app. You pay for the illusion of privacy, the comfort of a home away from home, but you never really know who has a duplicate key or what happened in those rooms before you arrived. The following 3 stories are allegedly true accounts of Airbnb stays that went horribly wrong.
A few months ago, I had to travel to a small town in Pennsylvania for a 2-day training seminar for my new job. The company had a limited travel budget, so they didn't provide a hotel. I had to find my own lodging. I looked on Airbnb and found a private room in a large, older house about 10 minutes from the office. It had over 200 5-star reviews, and the host, a man named Robert, was listed as a superhost. I arrived at the house around 7 p.m. It was already dark, and the streetlights in that part of town were sparse. The house was a massive Victorian with peeling white paint and a porch that creaked under my weight. Robert met me at the door before I could even knock. He was an older man, maybe in his late 50s, wearing a clean sweater and slacks. He was very polite, but he was intensely quiet. He didn't make small talk. He just showed me to my room on the 2nd floor. The room was basic: a twin bed, a wooden desk, and a small closet. Robert pointed out the bathroom down the hall. He told me he would be in his own bedroom on the ground floor if I needed anything. Then he simply turned and walked away. I spent the next hour unpacking a few things and checking my emails. Around 9:30 p.m., I went down to the kitchen to put some water in a bottle I had brought. The house was silent. All the lights downstairs were off. I figured Robert had already gone to bed. I went back upstairs, locked my bedroom door, and fell asleep pretty quickly. I woke up at exactly 2:13 a.m. I know the time because I checked my phone immediately. I had a dry throat, likely from the old heating system in the house. I needed more water. I remembered the water cooler I had seen in the kitchen earlier. I got out of bed, put on my shoes, and unlocked my door. I opened it slowly, trying not to let the old hinges squeak. The hallway was pitch black, except for a faint gray light coming from a window at the very end of the hall near the staircase. I stepped out, took about 3 steps, and then I stopped.
Robert was standing at the end of the hallway, right near the top of the stairs. He wasn't moving. He wasn't looking at me. He was facing the corner where the 2 walls met, just standing there in the dark. He was wearing the exact same clothes he had been wearing when I arrived. My heart started pounding against my ribs. I thought maybe he was sleepwalking. I stood there for what felt like a minute, just watching him. He didn't breathe heavily. He didn't shift his weight. Then I heard the whispering. Michael, Michael, Michael.
It was my name. He was saying it over and over in a dry, monotone whisper. It wasn't a question, and he wasn't looking for me. He was saying it to the wall. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I didn't say a word. I didn't ask if he was okay. I just backed up, inch by inch, until I was back inside my room. I closed the door, locked it, and pushed the heavy wooden desk in front of it. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching my phone, watching the gap under the door. I didn't hear any footsteps. I didn't hear him go back downstairs. When the sun finally came up, I moved the desk, grabbed my bag, and ran down the stairs. Robert was in the kitchen, making coffee. He looked completely normal. He smiled at me and asked if I had slept well. I didn't answer him.
I just ran to my car. As I was backing out of the driveway, I looked up at the window of the room I had just stayed in. Robert was standing there, watching me leave. He didn't have his coffee mug anymore. He was just staring. I never went back for the second night, and I didn't ask for a refund.
My girlfriend, Sarah, and I wanted a weekend away from everything. We both work high-stress jobs in the city, and we needed to unplug. We found a cabin on Airbnb, located in the Cascade Mountains. The listing described it as total seclusion. It was exactly what we wanted. The drive took 4 hours, the last 45 minutes of which were spent on a winding, unpaved gravel road. By the time we arrived, it was late afternoon. The cabin was beautiful, built from heavy logs, surrounded by trees so thick you couldn't see more than 10 feet in any direction. The owner had left the key in a small lockbox on the porch. We brought our bags inside, and Sarah started unpacking the groceries we had bought. I went into the bedroom to drop off our suitcases. The room had a large window that looked out into the dense woods. I spent a few minutes just looking at the trees, enjoying the silence. I noticed a small nightstand next to the bed. I needed to plug in my phone, so I pulled the nightstand away from the wall to reach the outlet. That's when I saw it. An old smartphone was plugged into the wall. It was an older model. The screen was cracked, and it was covered in a thin layer of dust. I picked it up. It was still powered on, but the battery was low. I swiped the screen, and it opened immediately. No passcode. I didn't intend to snoop, but I thought maybe it belonged to the owner and they had forgotten it. I opened the photo gallery. Most of the pictures were of the cabin, the trees, a few deer near the porch. They were dated months ago. Then I saw the videos. There were 3 new videos. The timestamp on the most recent one was from today, 4:15 p.m. That was exactly when we had arrived. I clicked play. The video was dark at first. Then it adjusted. It was being filmed from inside a closet. I could tell by the wooden slats in front of the lens. Through those slats, I saw the bedroom door open. I saw Sarah and I walk in, carrying our bags. I heard us talking about how nice the room was. The video lasted for 5 minutes, ending just as we walked back into the living room. I felt a wave of nausea hit me. We were being watched from inside the house while we were unpacking. I walked into the kitchen and showed Sarah the phone. Her face went completely white. We didn't even stop to pack our things. We grabbed our wallets, our keys, and ran to the car. I drove down that gravel road like a madman, expecting to see someone standing in the middle of the path at every turn. We drove until we hit a gas station with cell service. We called the police, but they found nothing. The cabin was empty, and they told me the only fingerprints on that phone were mine. In my junior year of college, 3 of my friends and I decided to go to Florida for spring break. We didn't have much money, so we spent weeks looking for the cheapest place we could find. We ended up renting a basement apartment in a ranch-style house about 20 minutes away from the beach. It was a bargain. We arrived late on a Saturday night. The landlord, a man named Davis, was waiting for us in the driveway. He was thin, with deep bags under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He led us around the back of the house to the basement entrance.
The apartment was decent for the price. It had 2 bedrooms and a small kitchen area. But right next to the fridge, there was a heavy metal door. It looked like it belonged in a factory, not a house. Davis pointed to it. "That's the boiler room," he said. His voice was completely flat. "Do not open that door. The system is very old and sensitive. If you mess with it, you'll break the whole house's heating. Just leave it alone." We all nodded. We didn't care about a boiler. We were there to go to the beach. The first 2 days were great. We spent all day at the beach and all night at the bars. But on Monday night, a massive thunderstorm rolled in. We decided to just stay in the apartment and drink. Around 11:30 p.m., the rain was pounding against the small basement windows. We were sitting at the table playing cards when the noise started. Tap, tap, tap. It was a slow, rhythmic sound. It was coming from the metal door. We all stopped talking. "It's probably just the pipes," my friend Mark said.
The tapping didn't stop. It got louder. Tap, tap, tap. Mark stood up. He'd had a few drinks, and he was feeling brave. He walked over to the door and put his hand on the knob. It was locked from our side. He pressed his ear against the metal and stayed there for a long time. His face slowly changed. He looked confused, then terrified. He backed away from the door, stumbling over a chair. "There's someone in there," he whispered. I didn't believe him, so I went over and listened. At first, I heard nothing but the rain. Then, I heard a voice. It was wet, gurgling, like someone speaking through a mouthful of water. "I see you." We didn't wait around. We grabbed our car keys and drove to a diner, staying there until the sun came up. We went back at 8 a.m. just to get our bags. As I was walking out with my suitcase, I noticed something I hadn't seen in the dark on the first night. The metal door didn't just have a lock on the knob. There was a massive steel slide bolt mounted on the outside of the door, bolted into the concrete frame. Someone had locked that door from the apartment side, and they hadn't done it to keep people out. They had done it to keep something in.